Are you ready to discover the darkest sides of history? Let's begin. Our first shocking fact is the origin of Scaphism, a method so gruesome that it seems almost impossible to believe it was ever conceived. Scaphism, also known as the boats, is believed to have been invented in ancient Persia during the reign of King Artaxerxes II, around the 5th century BCE. At the time Scaphism was allegedly practiced, the Persian Empire extended over approximately 5.5 million square kilometers, reflecting the vast reach of the ruling authority. Historical records from Persian legal texts indicate that the empire employed over 20 different execution methods, each tailored to the severity and nature of the crime. The purpose? To punish enemies and traitors in a manner that would leave a lasting impression of horror and fear. This brutal method was typically reserved for the most egregious crimes, such as high treason, underscoring its role as a severe deterrent against acts perceived as direct challenges to state power. The name Scaphism comes from the Greek word scaphe, meaning hollowed out. The method was as much about psychological domination as it was about execution. By prolonging the agony of death, the Persians turned the execution into a slow, painful spectacle designed to both punish the individual and serve as a dire warning to others. In a society where honor, shame, and deterrence were deeply ingrained, Scaphism was the ultimate form of retribution. Historical accounts, including those by Greek historian Plutarch, suggest that Scaphism was devised not just to kill, but to humiliate. Detailed accounts of Scaphism are primarily drawn from a handful of ancient sources, such as Plutarch's writings, which remain some of our best records despite their limited number. It was a public affair, carried out in view of onlookers who were forced to witness the drawn-out suffering of the condemned. This brutal form of execution was not only a method of delivering justice, but also a powerful tool of psychological warfare, designed to deter future crimes by instilling fear deep into the hearts of all who witnessed it. But how exactly was this cruel method carried out? What were the specific steps involved in this gruesome practice? In our next shocking fact, we'll dive into the details of the process itself, revealing the full extent of the torment inflicted upon its victims. Our second shocking fact dives into the gruesome process of Scaphism itself. The method was designed to ensure a slow, agonizing death, making it one of the most torturous executions ever conceived. The process began with the condemned being stripped naked and laid between two hollowed-out wooden boats or tree trunks, one placed on top of the other. This effectively trapped the victim, leaving only their head, hands, and feet exposed. Once secured, the executioners would force-feed the victim a mixture of milk and honey. While this might sound somewhat pleasant, the reality was far from it. The victim was made to consume excessive amounts of this sticky concoction, causing severe diarrhea, which accumulated in the confined space of the boats. The milk and honey diet wasn't just to keep them alive, it was part of the torture. With the victim now a prisoner of their own waste, the real horror began. The exposed parts of their body were smeared with more honey, attracting insects. Under the relentless sun, the scent of decay mixed with the sweet honey would draw swarms of flies, ants, and other insects. Detailed climate reconstructions of ancient Persia show that summer daytime temperatures often exceeded 35 degrees Celsius, 95 degrees Fahrenheit, which would have intensified dehydration and tissue decay. These insects would crawl over the victim's face and body, biting, stinging, and eventually burrowing into their flesh. But the true terror lay below the surface. As days passed, the victim's own excrement attracted more insects, including maggots and worms, which began to infest the body, slowly consuming it from the outside in. The victim remained fully conscious throughout this ordeal, enduring unimaginable pain and the horror of being devoured alive, piece by piece. Entomological studies reveal that under optimal conditions, certain fly larvae can double in number within 24 hours, intensifying the victim's torment during the execution process. Entomological extrapolations suggest that insect densities in these conditions could reach up to 300 individuals per square meter, greatly accelerating the victim's deterioration. But death didn't come quickly. It could take days or even weeks for the victim to succumb, usually from a combination of dehydration, starvation, and septic shock, due to the countless insect bites and the infection that followed. Modern forensic analysis indicates that the combination of extreme dehydration, septic infection, and toxin exposure involved in scaphism would likely lead to fatal systemic failure within an estimated 7 to 14 days. Clinical research on septic shock, a condition known for its high mortality rate even with modern medical care, supports the notion that the physiological damage inflicted by scaphism would be rapid and overwhelming. Each moment stretched into an eternity of agony with no possibility of escape or relief. Scaphism wasn't just a physical torture, it was a psychological nightmare. The victim was aware of every agonizing second, every bite, every sting. The slow pace of death and the prolonged suffering were designed to instill terror not just in the condemned, but in all who witnessed or heard of it. What kind of impact did this monstrous method of execution have on society, and why was it used as a tool of psychological warfare? In our next shocking fact, we'll explore how scaphism was employed to control and manipulate through fear. Our third shocking fact is the psychological terror behind scaphism. This execution method wasn't just about inflicting pain on the condemned. It was a deliberate tactic of psychological warfare. The sheer brutality and prolonged nature of scaphism were intended to send a powerful message to anyone who dared to defy the ruling powers. Legal historians estimate that such extreme punishments were applied in less than 1% of judicial sentences, reserved almost exclusively for political or military offenses. This wasn't just an execution, it was a spectacle of fear. Scaphism was often carried out in public, making it a community event where people were forced to witness the horrific fate of the condemned. The screams of the victims, the sight of their slow decay, and the swarming insects created an atmosphere of dread and helplessness. Watching a person die slowly over days or even weeks had a profound psychological impact on those who witnessed it. It served as a reminder of the absolute power of the rulers and the severe consequences of disobedience. The psychological warfare extended beyond the physical presence of the event. Tales of scaphism spread throughout the region, becoming part of a larger narrative used to instill fear and maintain control. Just the mere mention of this torturous execution was enough to strike terror into the hearts of many, making it an effective deterrent against rebellion and dissent. In a world where fear was a powerful tool, scaphism served its purpose well. It wasn't just about punishing the guilty, it was about controlling the masses through fear, ensuring that the authority of the rulers was never questioned. But how accurate are these accounts? Were there aspects of scaphism that were exaggerated over time? In our next shocking fact, we'll explore the myths and realities of this horrifying method of execution. Our fourth shocking fact delves into the myths and realities of scaphism. While the horror of this execution method is well documented, some aspects of it may have been exaggerated or mythologized over time. The question is, how much of what we know about scaphism is fact, and how much is fiction? One of the most debated aspects of scaphism is the use of inescapable boats and the extent to which the victim was truly immobilized. Some historians suggest that the description of two boats tightly sealing the victim in might have been more symbolic, representing a psychological prison rather than a literal one. The specifics of how the boats were constructed and used could vary, raising questions about the consistency of these accounts. There's also the matter of the insects. While it's true that the milk and honey diet would attract bugs, some stories describe swarms of insects that seem almost supernatural in number. These descriptions could have been amplified to make the punishment seem even more terrifying, adding to the psychological impact of the tales as they were told and retold. The absence of archaeological evidence means that our understanding of this practice relies almost entirely on literary descriptions and comparative forensic research. The mythologizing of this practice only amplifies its horror, blurring the lines between fact and fear. So, why does the legacy of scaphism endure, even with these doubts? Our final shocking fact is the enduring legacy of scaphism. Despite its ancient origins, the gruesome nature of scaphism still captures the imagination of people today. But why does this brutal form of execution continue to fascinate us? The answer lies in the extreme nature of scaphism itself. It represents the darkest depths of human cruelty, a method so horrific that it forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about our capacity for violence and the lengths to which we will go to exert power and control. Scaphism wasn't just about punishment. It was about domination, about instilling a fear so deep that it would deter any who might consider defying the rulers of the time. The fascination also comes from a morbid curiosity about the limits of human suffering. Stories of Scaphism challenge our understanding of pain and endurance, raising questions about how much a person can endure before they break. This psychological aspect is what keeps Scaphism in our collective memory, reminding us that the line between civilization and barbarism is thinner than we like to think. As we reflect on the horrifying details of Scaphism, we're reminded that history often repeats itself in different forms. The methods may change, but the human capacity for cruelty remains a constant. As we conclude, what does this fascination with the macabre reveal about us? Thank you for watching. If you like the content, please considering subscribe to the channel. We are Freak Files channel that bring dark history and horror story to life via documentary. And remember, when power goes unchecked, justice becomes a slow, brutal spectacle of terror.